welcome to another video by Rick and Candace, and today I'm with a good brother and fellow missionary, Daniel Melton. Daniel, thank you for joining me in your lovely setting here and getting to know them a little more, but we wanted to sit down and talk a little bit self-sustaining ministries, your clinic, your background, the clinic, coffee, just a lot of conversations that I want to have today about your ministry and how you guys are doing.
Sure.
So first of all, thank you very much for joining me, and also congratulations on your 20 year. So tell us a little bit about those 20 years, a little bit about how you got started and how things are going today.
Well, number one, I wasn't counting the years, so I was a bit surprised when it got brought up. It was a good surprise though, and I'm very thankful to the Lord for leading us in the path that we've been in, serving Honduras, the ministry in Honduras. God's given us the vision of being self-sustained, of making it to where our ministries provide the salaries that are needed through local business, as well as paying for electricity, building maintenance, that kind of stuff. They are still poor countries, and they do need help. But that's the kind of stuff that whether money arrives this month or doesn't arrive this month, the ministry and the business can continue on if it's got a form of income on the field from their own people. So that's been our goal and our passion. When we went to Honduras, we didn't really know what we were going to do. We felt called from God to be missionaries, and God opened the door for Honduras. But it wasn't until we arrived in Honduras that God started opening the doors of exactly what he wanted us to do.
Do you think, Daniel, how often do you think it happens where people get called to the mission field and they go to the mission field, and yet when they get there, things aren't quite exactly the same, and it may not, it's still ministry, it's still working towards that, but what you go to and what you end up maybe focusing on could be a little bit different. Do you ever see that happening in your life or in other missionaries?
I think probably many times we find stuff that we weren't trained to do, or we were not planning to do, that we end up doing. Our experience has been when the missionary arrived, he was the preacher, he was the missionary, he was the plumber, the electrician, the technician. He was supposed to know how to do it all. And but it is interesting how, as we arrived in Honduras, God very clearly opened the doors that we were supposed to walk in with what he wanted us to do.
That's good. I think that's in our short time that Candace and I have been on the field, I found that to be true as well. There are things that you weren't expecting to do, but yet you end up doing them, and I think that's good. Yeah. I think that's a sign that the Lord's leading, and we always need to be focused on that.
So 20 years has gone by very, very quickly. The first visit we made to Honduras, Kendrick, our oldest, was 6 weeks old.
Wow. And
that was our first visit. And when I look back at that prayer card, that seems like an awful long time ago. So.
And on 20 years, he was that. But what had just happened in the last month?
Well, we took him to Bible school, and so he is starting on a path. He is excited about this path, and of course it's new.
Absolutely.
And but he is starting. He's going to study, do prerequisites and stuff at God's Bible school, and then possibly be going into some area of medicine.
That's great.
So,
medicine wouldn't have anything to do with the clinic or the surgery center or anything down in Honduras, would it?
Just slightly.
Okay.
It has given opportunities to my children that are absolutely amazing. In the States, they would not have had the opportunities they have there. But Dr. Coleman, a friend as well as a surgeon, came in one day and was talking about doing surgeries. And it's an area that for years Evangelistic Faith Missions has provided medical care in San Luis. But people had to travel over 2 hours to get to town to have any kind of surgery, to have their baby deliveries. And when our clinic opened in San Luis in 1978, Don and Devonna Moore, and there were a few others that were involved. It was a group of there were 2 ladies as well involved, and they began to provide a medical care for the community. And through that, we're able to bring evangelism right to the people. They come to us. We don't have to go out looking for them. But now we're adding surgery, and that's really cool. People come in for hernias, gallbladders, just all that kind of ambulatory stuff, and we're able to share the gospel with them.
That is amazing. That is amazing. So you mentioned self-sustaining as part of the clinic and other things you're doing, and that's our focus. And we talked about that as self-sustaining, which can be as simple as helping a pastor provide for his family through food, whether it's animals, vegetables, some type of a farm, to even a small tienda.
Yeah.
Or in the situation of Pastor Renee, a taxi service. But self-sustaining is something you and I both have a passion for, and we talked about that. How important do you think developing those self-sustaining ministries? It's kind of like planning an exit plan. You know, you want them to stand on their own.
Yeah.
So share with me, you've started a pizza business, you have the water business that helps support the clinic. A little bit about your experience in that and how you view that in general.
Well, I think first of all, it's getting them to feel the need for it.
Yes.
Okay, many times we've provided a type of system, kind of like a welfare system for them, to where the budget comes in this month, or we provide this amount to accomplish this amount of stuff, and very seldom do they feel the need of like, if this is going to work, I have to be a part of it. And I remember clearly one of our guys in Honduras, I asked him one time, I was like, have you ever thought, I mean, would you ever consider letting our ministry know, thank you very much, we appreciate it, we don't need the financial help anymore. Why has that never happened? And I remember as he looked at me and he says, well, brother, as long as we put our hand out, you keep putting money in it. And I began to think, you know, that's doing two things. It creates dependency, but also it takes the pride away of them being responsible for making this ministry work.
It's true.
I thought if the budget money did not come in one month, our clinic would close. Our radio station would not have been able to operate. The church was receiving money at that point to support them as well. There's different parts of the ministry when we got there that if the money didn't come in, the Bible school would not be able to operate, and that worried me.
Yeah.
And so that was when I was walking around the backside of the mission property in San Luis and asking God, what do you have for me here? And that thought really struck me that if we don't do something in the future, it's going to be very difficult for this ministry. And so God began to, it was kind of interesting, it was like he flipped a switch. I was not an entrepreneur before, but it was like somebody flipped a light bulb on, and these ideas started coming to my mind, and we've had to work through some of them. Some of them have worked, some of them have not worked, but it's really neat to see the pride in the local people that this ministry is operating because we're helping provide for this. Also, our goal is to provide work for local people, and also that business will provide income for the ministry. So you're taking care of two things, and many times they don't look at it the way I do. I go through and I count the employees that we have as a part of our ministry as those are families that we are putting food on their table. They don't look at it that way, but I do look at it that way, because if they didn't have the job, many of them would have to move. They would have to find another way to have some form of income. But by us providing work for them, it also provides funds for our ministry so that we can reduce the amount of monthly budget that comes in from the United States.
Thus, they're self-sustaining.
Mm-hmm.
So is that how the coffee got started? Your little coffee, you know, the locals and the coffee, and of course, it's great coffee, and in fact, we're enjoying some of it now. Is that how that got started?
Actually, it's not.
Okay.
Freddie is a friend of mine. It's interesting when people buy a pound of our coffee. Not only does it support a missionary family, but it also supports Freddie. Freddie came to me. I don't remember when it was, 2008, 2009, with 4 pounds of coffee. Said, take this home to your family. We brought it home. Everybody liked it so much that they're like, when can you bring more? Can you bring? And so we brought a suitcase home the next time, and then 2 suitcases. And it began to grow and multiply. Now, Freddie was not a Christian when I started buying coffee from him. Okay, our coffee farm on the mission property does not produce enough coffee yet for us to export and bring back to the States. So this coffee that, as Melton Trading Company, we bring back as our family, It comes directly from Freddie. Freddie was not a Christian when I first started buying from him. But I remember in 2016 when I went down to visit Freddie, and he had a total different look about him. And I said, Freddie, what changed about you? He's like, you didn't hear? I was like, no. He was like, well, I got saved. And it was a total change in the way he did business. Before, he wouldn't have a problem not sharing all the truth with me if he couldn't do something. All that changed. So the neat thing about our coffee is that it supports our missionary family. It supports a pastor. Freddie has become a pastor. He studied in our Bible school there in San Luis and is now pastor in a church out on the edge of San Luis. And he hires between 25 and 30 people to work on his coffee farm. So it's neat to see the trickle down from missionary to grower to picker and maintainer of the farm. But that's the story of our coffee. It did get us started in agricultural stuff. So that led into what are we going to plant? We planted coffee, we have bananas, we have allspice, we have a 30-year mahogany project that's on our property there in San Luis. We have about 35 acres there. We started a chicken project. We had 1,000 chickens for years. We're in the process of redoing that project now, but it was a productive project. We have honeybees. We have planted mangoes, avocados. Some of these are productive and some of them are not real productive. We have over 2,000 banana trees planted throughout the property. So we sell a lot of bananas. And we have, back about 5 years ago, we were able to purchase a coffee farm about 35 to 40 minutes away, and we're in the process of replanting. The coffee farm was going downhill. So we're replanting the coffee, but we're also adding lemongrass and also cardamom and different things that they already grow in some of these areas to help provide. And this gives work to local people and also helps provide income for the ministry.
So one of the things that we've talked about, and because what I'm hearing is how ministry and business are really working together. We talked about this, and I've had many conversations with other people that they really don't see business and ministry working together. But yet, in my experience, business gives us an opportunity to build relationships. We take those relationships, which really can lead into ministry's opportunities. Have you experienced stuff like that? Because I'm a relationship person. I love building relationships. I love sitting and talking, because then at that time, the opportunity opens for us to have conversations about our Lord. Have you seen that in your experience, not only in the field, but also in the United States?
Well, I think it all comes back to, I'm called to be a missionary. Okay, so that's first and foremost. Everything that I do has to come underneath the part of ministry and being a missionary. It is interesting, when God called me to be a missionary, I thought that meant being a preacher, opening new churches, open evangelism, in that form of church ministry. But when we arrived in Honduras, God very clearly showed me that was different. And it came down to business, because our clinic, we were going month to month, just barely making do, many times going behind. The mission property, the maintenance on the property, the radio station, all that stuff, we struggled from month to month to even pay the minimum wage for salaries and stuff. So we all know the difficulty of, I've said many times, if we had more money, we could do more things. But I think many times that's our problem, is ministry and business can come hand in hand. And I think many times it opens the doors to do more ministry. And I believe that that's what it's done for us. Number one, the people in the community of San Luis, when they look at us, they see that we care for them. Number one, we're providing work for many of them. They know that we love them. Many of the comments I hear from people in the community is that those people love us. The medical teams that come down, that's what so business, medicine, business, the radio, I think it all goes hand in hand.
Together.
And when we came into Honduras, we had 40 churches scattered throughout the country of Honduras. So I kind of give it, the church was way up here, and financially we were way down here. And my goal, I felt like what God wanted me to do was bring these up together, because you can do more ministry if the finances are right. How do you get finances right? Sometimes it's through business. We have a pastor. His name's Mauricio. Mauricio got really inspired when he came to San Luis and saw the projects, the pizza shop,
Right.
the water project, these different things, and he went back to his community, and he was in the process of opening a new church. And he said, he never asked me for a penny, but what he did was start a little grocery store. Through that little grocery store, he started being competitive in the community, but having the people from his church buy from his little grocery store.
Okay.
The profits from that little grocery store helped buy the church property. It's now in the process of helping build that church, and the church is prospering, the church is growing, but it's all because he had a vision as well as a business mind, and the two things come together to make a better ministry.
They work together.
Yeah.
They work together. I would agree. So here you have a pastor that got a vision to start a tienda or a pulperia, depending on which Latin American country you're in. And by just, I would even say marketing a little bit of getting the word out that this is going to support our church, this is going to do it. Here, he didn't have to rely on donations from the States.
That's right.
To build his church.
That's right.
They're going to build it on their own. That has to also bring a sense of, I wouldn't use the word pride, but there is a sense that we can do this.
I call it ownership.
Ownership of skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know, they have ownership that they want to do this.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So you've worked with some business in the States. You've worked with business and ministry. You know, really they go hand in hand. What are some of the differences that you have seen about business in the States versus business maybe down in Latin America? I think of, depending where you are in the States, we walk in, we shake hands, we get to business.
Yeah.
In Latin America, we walk in a room, if there's 3 people, you're going to greet this person, you're going to greet the next person.
That's exactly right.
You're going to greet every one of them, see how everybody's family's doing.
Relationship.
You're just going to build that relationship. So for relationship people, Latin America's great.
Yep.
Because that's what you're going to focus in. Have you noticed that? And how is that different than you think in the States, or differences or similarities you've seen?
Well, in Honduras, it is very much about relationship, but there are lots of opportunities in Honduras. I think there's more opportunities just because it's a third world country. I think you have more opportunities. Like, we bought 1,000 chickens. We started selling eggs in the community. We dug a 300-foot well. The city water was nasty. It was brown. It'd make you sick. Now we put in a water purification system. We're selling clean water in the community. These opportunities are not something, I don't think I would ever start a water plant here in the United States to sell 5-gallon bottles of water. So there's opportunities down there that are available that I don't see as being that much available here.
Sure.
As far as the relationship side of things, I have a motto in life, and it's that it all depends on who you know. If you don't know God, you don't get to heaven. But if you don't know man, you don't get anything done. And I believe that is true whether it's Latin America or whether it's the United States. Down there, it really does depend on who you know. You can have paperwork moved up the chain and accomplished in a little bit of time if you've got a friend who can help you move that along. So I don't know. I do think it's the thing that's the same about both of them is relationships. You have relationships here, it is amazing what you can accomplish as well.
It's true. I have noticed also that interacting in the States, especially in our current culture, trying to interchange ministry into our business world here is difficult.
It is difficult, yeah.
We're getting ministries being pushed out of business. I don't see that much in Latin America. How do they view it, in your opinion? Or don't they welcome ministry into business?
They do, and also into schools, also into a lot of my relationship building has been done in government offices. They are very favorable to us we came from the United States to live in their culture and in their country and serve their people. And many times, I remember we had an inspector come into San Luis, and he was not in favor of us. He was coming he shared on the way out all the places he had visited, the ministries, the preachers, the different missionaries that they had visited that didn't turn out to be what they were supposed to be. And when I got him to San Luis and he began to look around, it was a whole different trip on the way back to the city as he began to tell me, you're doing exactly what you said you were doing. It does cross over into the doors are open. I'm a Gideon. I enjoy giving out New Testaments. We find wide open doors in businesses to go in and give Bibles out. We find wide open doors to go into schools. In fact, the teachers will say, kids, put your pencils down. There's some people here and they want to give you a Bible and share the gospel with you. And they'll give us 10-15 minutes of their class time. Wow. And we just go class to class, and within a half an hour we can give out over 300 to 400 Bibles in a school. And they're open to that. They're very wide open to that. So I don't see, there's not I get in a car and with like a taxi, and I ask the guy, we're visiting, and I'm like, how are you and God getting along? And the openness that's usually responded, right, just by a simple question of, how are you and God getting along? And usually he says, not very good. I was a Christian before and I'm just not doing very good, and they begin to tell you the difficulties in their life. That's the kind of transparency and openness we don't really see here in the United States. Many of us would be offended if somebody came up and said, so how are you and God getting along? And question our spiritual being. But down there, it's not, it's that intimidation or that is not a difficult thing for you to approach someone, whether in a business or on the street or in a taxi, and ask if they are getting along well with God. And anyway, it's neat to do ministry. No matter where you are in Latin America, it's easy to present the gospel.
That is good. Well, Daniel, I have lots more questions, but I think we're running short on time.
Okay.
We could keep going. We might do a part 2.
Okay.
We might do a part 2, but for now, I want to thank you so much for taking the time today. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate, both of us would appreciate your prayers, and we thank the Lord for this opportunity and for future opportunities.
It's very good to be with you this afternoon, and thank you.
Thank you.